Welcome, I'm Zertle, and this is Newbie for Hire. This will be a more in-depth Garrison Gold guide than the last one. I will still focus on Passive Gold, as I think that's the best, but I will mention the other types of getting gold in the Garrison. So, first things first, when you're first building your Garrison, you're going to want to get, in the small buildings, it doesn't really matter what you start out with. I find the Storehouse indispensable, even though it doesn't produce you any gold. Just having your bank right there is really important. Only needs to be level 1. Salvage Yard is pretty important. It can make you gold. More importantly, it's going to produce weapon enhancement and armor enhancements for your followers. It can get a little tedious after a while, which is why I actually stopped building or start replacing salvage yards on some of my characters, because I don't like breaking down all these boxes that come from salvaging. But those can make you a lot of money, maybe about 1,000 gold per week or something if you sell all the material. It can make you more money if you get transmogrification items. You can sell those on the auction house, but again, I find that to be a bit tedious. But if you want to make money, salvage yard is probably the best small building for, pure money making, and it does make passive, and it does get you, importantly, weapon and armor enhancements. We'll need those to level up our followers. Next one, now any of these, Forge, Emporium, can be useful if you happen to have these professions. Although I have some leather workers and I find it not to be very lucrative anymore, so I wouldn't build a tannery. And you can still sell bags, so tailoring is probably still useful. The gem boutique is useful because you can get a jewel crafting daily, which will reward you about 200 gold per day if you do that daily. Now it will require some materials, which will probably take about 60 gold worth of materials. So really doing the daily is about 150 gold. Again, I like passive gold, so I only have one guy with the gem boutique because I don't want to spend the time doing a bunch of gem dailies. But if you want the most gold, gem boutique is definitely a good option for gold making. Enchanter study is an option to break things down and sell the enchanting materials. My favorite, especially my favorite if you don't have certain professions, is the Scribe's Quarters. Because with the Scribe's Quarters, you can create Card of Omens, which you can sell in the auction house for 4 gold or more per piece, or if they're less than 4 gold in the auction house, just flip them yourself and sell the cards for gold. Each card, if you flip enough cards, each card is worth roughly 4 gold per card. That's it for small buildings. So, typically Storehouse, even though it doesn't make gold, I think it's pretty necessary to have your bank there. Scribe's Quarters, Salvage Yard. That's my typical setup. I will now briefly show you guys the Scavenger's Hut, Jewel Crafter's Hut, and the Scribe's Quarters. At the Salvager Hut, you just break down your crates of salvage. Inside, occasionally you will get weapon enhancements or armor enhancements to buff your followers. Make sure you've equipped a follower to your inscription hut so that you can get the bonus on your work orders. First, we're going to buy some light parchment here. Just get a few for this. Inside the inscription hut, we're going to talk to this Scribe Urgra, and we are going to produce Card of Omens. That's what we're going to do with all the war paints we've been producing. Some other players who have flipped tens of thousands of cards have come to the conclusion through their data that the cards are worth roughly 4 gold each if you were to flip enough cards. We can sell them on the auction house. I would sell them on the auction house if they're going for more than 4 gold per card. If they're not, I'd just flip them. And you can sell these cards to a vendor. If we stick a follower in the jewel crafting hut, we get a daily jewel crafting quest. Here it is. It's the payment. Looks like this one's easy. Give him 20 ore. Sure, buddy. Open the bag. 289 gold. It's a high amount. Averages at maybe 220. All right, on to medium buildings. When you start out, for medium buildings, the most important is the tavern or inn, and you need to get it to level 2 as soon as possible. This is your top priority making a garrison. Get your tavern or inn to level 2. This is so that you can recruit the treasure hunters. You need inn level 2 to recruit treasure hunters each week. So as soon as you get this to level 2, you can recruit your first treasure hunter from the tavern. So this is the most important. Second thing that you should build in the medium is a lumber mill. This is useful in the beginning. You're going to need to cut lumber to get the garrison resources, flowing that you need, because it takes a lot of garrison resources to build all these buildings. So get your lumber mill going. It only needs to be level 1. That's it. You're going to want to cut trees. If you're Alliance, Shadow Moon Valleys, you got a billion trees. If I'm Horde, I like to cut in Ashran. It's actually a good place to cut trees while gathering artifact fragments to level up gear. Or you can cut in Gorgrund. That's a pretty decent place. Once your garrison is up and running and you've had plenty of resources, you've got your treasure hunters, you don't need that many garrison resources anymore. At that point, I stop farming trees because I don't want to spend that kind of time. You can then switch this building to a barn if you want. And with the barn, you can capture elite beast. This will need to be level 3. The barn will need to be level 3. And you'll need to catch elite beasts to get Savage Bloods, which you can still sell on pretty much every server for around 70 to 100 gold each. Other than that, now that does require you to actually trap. So it does require a little work, and it will take a couple hours of trapping to cover, a few months worth of traps. So you could do all your trapping at once and then put in those work orders and sell the Savage Bloods. And it's easily the most lucrative of the medium buildings, but it does require that extra legwork. Frostwall Tavern. Now, I said you wanted it at level 2. That's to start getting the followers. You're going to want to eventually to level 3 so that you can get those tiny little gold missions. It will give you extra gold missions, and you will want those. Now, you could also switch your lumber mill to the trading post. It's a little more passive than the barn. You can take excess garrison resources there and sell them for a little pouch of gold. It's 50 gold. It's 50 garrison resources for a pouch that has 15 gold in it. So 10,000 garrison resources will get you 3,000 gold. Now, it's not that great, but it is a little extra income. I don't typically do it that often because it takes more time to get that gold than I want to spend usually. I will occasionally do it. On the large buildings, there are no options. You need a Barracks level 3 to have the 5 extra follower limit, and you need a War Mill level 2. The reason you need War Mill level 2 is because the War Mill is going to produce with work orders armor enhancements and weapon enhancements. You need these armor enhancements and weapon enhancements to level up your followers. And that's the next thing we'll get into. So we've got our garrison set up. Here are the armor scraps and weapon enhancements that you get from the War Mill. And then you can create those work orders. They cost garrison resources, and those will produce more of these. Once all your followers are at 675 eye level, you can keep creating these and sell them for money. A couple other points: you can make money with the menagerie. If you get that to level 3, you get pet battle dailies, and you can battle the pets, and with these bags you can purchase pets you can sell in the auction house. So that can get you extra income. You also have the fishing shack. You can fish for extra income. You have the herb garden. You can collect herbs for extra income, which you can actually use to fuel your scribe's hut. The mine, you can also mine for extra income selling ore or using the ore for your gem crafter hut or for anything else. In the beginning, I used to do herb garden and mine and the menagerie, but at this point I have too many garrisons. It's too time consuming. I don't do any of those. I just focus on passive gold and it produces me plenty of gold. But if you only had one garrison, or you felt like doing that, you could definitely do these for extra gold. Some people suggest, oh, you only need 10 or 14 or whatever gold treasure hunters. I disagree. I think you want as many treasure hunters as you can get your hands on. The reason for this is that, I personally don't want to be logging in all the time to do these gold missions. If I have 8 gold missions in the queue, I want to be able to do all the gold missions at once without having to worry about whether I have the right counters. So if I've got all treasure hunters, as you can see, I've got 23 here, 4 scavengers, and 2 epic mounts. Epic mounts are great. And you can see here I've got 5 wild aggression, 5 massive strike, 4 group damage, 6 magic debuff, 5 danger zones, 6 minion swarms, 5 powerful spells, 6 deadly minions, 6 time battle. So pretty even spread across the board so that I can get as many counters as possible. Now ideally I don't want any repeat counters, so if I can, I will use follower ability retraining manuals to retrain people who are repeats. I don't actually have any repeats on this character because I've trained them all off with the ability retraining manual. As you can see here, I don't particularly... Scavenger can be good because you do want garrison resources in order to create more treasure hunters and to make sure that you keep a good flow of garrison resources in. However, garrison resources come in quite abundantly, so it's not that necessary, and you can use it potentially if you have the trading post or in your war mill to sell your armor enhancements after your characters are maxed out. Now, the reason we wanted the war mill and the scavenger hut, like I said before, was to get these armor enhancements and weapon enhancements. What we use these for is to level our followers to 675 item level for both armor and weapon. This is important. One, because a lot of the treasure missions are 675. Two, it's important because every week each character gets the option for a special mission. The special mission can give you items that are worth 3,000 to 15 to 20,000 gold for that one item. Now you get this mission only once per week per character. So if you have 10 characters, you'll get this mission 10 times in a week. Now it's random which mission it is, so each character is not going to get the same mission. Some of the missions aren't worth anything, but some of the missions are worth a lot. This is one of the items from those missions. Elixir of the Rapid Mind sells for about 3,000 to 4,000 gold on pretty much any server. I'll show you the other items. I have them as well and regularly sell them. Here is the Medallion of the Legion. Sells for about 3,000 to 4,000. Champion's Honor. This thing sells for 15,000 gold typically. Now those missions require 675 followers to complete. So you're going to need quite a few 675 followers in order to complete those with 100% certainty, because you definitely don't want to fail those missions when an item that's worth 15,000 gold is on the line, for example. In order for those missions to first start appearing, you actually have to have at least 10 followers with eye level. I'm not sure whether it's 650 or 675 because I've always had 675 when I've gotten the 10, but you'd need 10 followers of 675 to get those missions to even start appearing. It may be 650, but it's really a moot point because you need 675 to complete the missions anyway. So I focus, when you're first starting your garrison out, you're not going to have a lot of treasure hunters. I focus on getting my treasure hunters to 675 first, because those are my, I'm not going to be replacing those followers. Each week when I recruit a new follower from the inn, I'm going to replace followers that aren't treasure hunters with treasure hunters who I'm going to level up. We also want to do any mission with these follower retraining certificates, so we can use these to make new treasure hunters. Here's a garrison that I'm still working on. As you can see, I only have 15 treasure hunters. I have 4 scavengers and 4 epic mounts. Those are our most important statistics. Now, in order to boost your followers to 675, because you're going to want to get them to 675 as quickly as possible. If you have extra gold, I would recommend purchasing Frozen Arms of the Hero. I've purchased, tons of them as long as they're under 1,000 gold per one. Although most of them I've purchased for 500 gold per Frozen Arms of the Hero. And this will boost your followers' item levels by 50. So if you used War Ravaged Weaponry 615 and War Ravaged Armor Set 615, and then use Frozen Arms of the Hero, you only need to add 6 more item levels to get them to 675. So, if you can afford these, I definitely recommend using them to boost your characters. If you can't afford them, it's fine. I mean, you'll still get them there in a pretty reasonable time frame. Which brings us to our next point. Once you get your garrison up and going, every day you're going to want to search for Garrison Jones, and he's going to give you a daily quest. There are 6 quests that you're going to have to complete. And these are really important to get your garrison up and running, because you need Garrison Jones as a follower. In order to get him as a follower, you need to complete these 6 quests. Now, it's so important to have Garrison that if you don't have the quest, and if you can't find somebody advertising their garrison with the quest, I would recommend just randomly joining somebody's group and searching their garrison to see if they have Garrison, because you're going to want to get him as soon as possible. Garrison Jones is a level 100 treasure hunter with a very special trait, Mentor. What this does, accompanying followers gain this follower's combat effectiveness. Once you have Garrison Jones, you're going to want to get him to 675 faster than any other follower. Now, each week you get a new follower from the inn. This new treasure hunter is level 90. That means you have to level him up. If you don't have Garrison, that'll take you all week to level him to 100. If you have Garrison, your follower can join max level missions as if they were max level. So a 15,000 experience mission, your level 90 is getting the full experience if he's grouped with Garrison. So your level 90 will be level 100 within 2 to 3 missions. So you can start working on making your follower epic within the first week. So that's why it's so important to get Garrison Jones. So you have to do those 6 quests, 6 daily quests. It may take you a week and a half to get all 6 because the quests repeat. And sometimes you don't get the right quest that you need. There's actually an achievement for it. And this is how you get Garrison. The achievement is called Master Relic Hunter. And these are the 6 daily quests. You could track this. It's very important. So track this quest to keep track of the ones you need. Once you get those, you'll have Garrison. Now, I touched on this briefly in the other guide, how you're going to want to spend your garrison resources initially on follower trait retraining guides. That's definitely the case. So there are 1,000 garrison resources each. There are a couple of other things to handle with your followers. Sometimes you'll get a mission that rewards Supreme Manual of Dance. You definitely want to do these missions. They're very important missions because you can use this to replace a useless trait on one of your followers to give them threat counter danger zones. It's not as strong as the regular danger zones, but it is helpful. So if your character has a useless trait on there, replace it with Dancer. You only want to do this on treasure hunters because you're going to want to use follower trait retraining guide on your non-treasure hunters or follower retraining certificate on your non-treasure hunters. Now, I said before that you want to buy follower trait retraining guides for 1,000 garrisons. You only want to use these on epic followers that aren't treasure hunters. The reason for this is because you want the most opportunities to get a treasure hunter. With an epic follower, you have 3 opportunities to get a treasure hunter. If they're green, as you can see, they only have 1 chance to get a treasure hunter. If they're blue, they'll only have 2 chances to get a treasure hunter. So we only want to use those on epic followers. There are certain traits on your followers that cannot be replaced. So those followers, I typically, if they aren't treasure hunters, I typically get rid of them, because when we use follower trait retraining guide, we want 3 opportunities to get treasure hunter, not just 2. If they have a trait that can't be replaced, that's worthless for our uses, we don't want them. Bodyguard can't be replaced. We don't need bodyguards. We don't want them. We don't want to waste our trait retrainers on them. So we just replace them with a treasure hunter from the inn and use our trait retrainers on someone with 3 options. Other followers, there are a few followers that have unreplaceable traits that are very good traits, and those I will use retraining guides after I already have a lot of treasure hunters in order to get treasure hunters out of them. Those would be Garona. She has Master Assassin, irreplaceable, very powerful. So I will try and make her a treasure hunter. I won't get rid of her. We also have Bluke, who has combat experience, which is very good. It increases mission success of all missions. So we definitely want him to be a treasure hunter. This trait cannot be replaced, so you can safely use your trait retrainer on him. Again, though, he'll only have 2 opportunities to become a treasure hunter. So we want to make sure that we have plenty of treasure hunters before we start using our trait retrainers on Bluke. Oronok Tornheart is another one with an unreplaceable trait, Demonic Knowledge. Increases success chance for all missions. So he's very good. We do want to use trait retraining on him to try and get treasure hunter. Now, I have scavenger on him and I put dancer on him because I don't have any scavengers. I don't have any scavengers on this character, so I needed him to be a scavenger. You want at least a couple scavengers. If you have other scavengers, it would be best if he were a treasure hunter, but I don't have any, so I left him as a scavenger. Solar Priest Vakes, he's another one, Apexis Attenuation. It's not as good as the other traits. It's only an okay trait, but it can be useful, and I am working on turning him into a treasure hunter currently, although he is on a mission. Now, I spoke briefly before about the different counters. We definitely want a pretty even spread. I try to get 4 of each type of counter as a treasure hunter to start. So each week in my treasure hunters, I will compare what I currently have with what they're offering in the inn. They only offer 3 treasure hunters in the inn, and they'll be either blue or green, so they'll only have 1 counter. So you can look up the type and see what counter options. I said before that wild aggression is probably one of the most important, and group damage, partly because it's hard to find group damage followers early on in your garrison construction. Wild aggression just comes up a lot. Time battle comes up a reasonable amount in 675 missions as well, but all of them come up, to varying degrees. I find deadly missions, it doesn't come up a lot in the higher level treasure missions, but it comes up a lot in the lower level treasure hunter missions, so it is important. Magic debuff doesn't have a lot. You still want a couple treasure hunters of those. Like I said before, I try to get 4 of each. I don't have 4 magic debuff on this character. It's not as important on this character because he has Garona and he has Bluke as treasure hunters. All of my other characters don't have Garona. I haven't gone through the main quest line to get Garona or Oronok on them. So it's a little more important on those characters to have a more even spread. This character doesn't need it as badly because Garona can fill, Bluke can fill. Which brings us to our next point. This is not a shipyard guide, but I will briefly touch on it because it can make you a lot of gold as well. If you go through, do the shipyard quest, build up your shipyard, you want to get goblin crew. That's the ticket. And if you can get 1 of each boat with a goblin crew, as you can see, it's hard to do because your ships die. If they don't have goblins, you can always re-roll them and hope for a new goblin. It's a bit time consuming, but I've definitely re-rolled a few to try and get goblins, and sometimes it has been successful. Having an even spread helps me counter most of the good gold missions to a 70 or 80%. But as you can see here, this mission that I'm on, I think is going to give me 2250 or something. This mission, as you can see, once I get back from the other mission, I'll have an 84% chance for 2250 gold. So they can make, you're not always going to have big missions like this, but they can make a lot of gold. And while I do fail the missions sometimes, I never have 100%. It's usually anywhere from 70 to 90%. I do sometimes fail them, and I sometimes lose ships. I win them more often than not and make a lot of gold from them. Now, in my last guide video, which I produced on the 11th of January, I had 91,075 gold. I now have on this character 109,075 gold produced on the 29th. So that's exactly 18 days and exactly 18,000 gold just from missions. That's just from missions. Now, I mean, it's a little surprising it turned out exactly 1,000 per day. It's typically, I would say, a little less, but you know, this time I got lucky, I guess. Anyway, it gives you an idea of the amount of gold you can produce passively in a garrison, roughly 1,000 gold per day per, you know, max level garrison with the followers. As you can see here, these are some of the items we get from the weekly quest I was talking about. Champion's Honor. This is the most valuable one, and this is the one you especially want. As you can see here, it's going to sell for 17,000, and it'll sell real quick. I don't have to lower the price at all. I've undercut all these people. It'll sell today, no question, for 17,000. So it typically goes anywhere from 15 to 20,000. And then the Medallion of the Legion, as you can see here, goes for 3,000 currently. I'll sell one of those, and that will also sell very quickly. Elixir of the Rapid Mind sells for 3,000 currently. Will also sell very quickly. And that's about it. Add-on I'm using for the garrison is Master Plan. You can look that up on curse.com. It's invaluable for your garrison. It makes doing your missions faster, easier. It's great. Highly recommended. The Champion's Honor actually sold while I was editing the video. So as you can see, they sell very quickly. 17,000 gold minus the ridiculous auction house cut. I hope that you guys were able to take away some information about how to get garrisons going. I hope you can get your own garrisons making a lot of money. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll try and answer them. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.